association of His Grace Dronacharya Prabhu both yesterday and today. So it's like double excitement for us. Thank you, Dronacharya Prabhu, for really taking the time yesterday to come out. And I apologize for not being able to send you off, you and Harshvardhan Prabhu. I was in a different meeting. And
okay.
I'm so sorry. I felt bad.
I understand.
I felt bad. you know, yes. And we had a wonderful time yesterday. Beautiful kirtan, beautiful arti, beautiful class. Everything was so beautiful. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time out. And we thank the devotees for joining us last night, if you were there, and also then and joining us this morning. Dronacharya Prabhu, you know what I realized is I think you prepared the class on 3:11, right?
No, 3:06 to 3:10.
Oh, Haribol, you read my mind. I love it. Thank you. I thought I gave you the wrong verse, so I'm so sorry. So you're on the right track. So we are going to be speaking on Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 3, verses 6 to 10. And it's all yours, Prabhu.
Yeah, it's great to be with everyone. Happy Monday, Harrisburg family. And it was really my pleasure to be with everybody last night. It was great to see so many wonderful devotees. You have such a loving community. It was really, really special for me and Haryashra Prabhu and Dr. David and Ryan. We were all talking about it on the way home. Just how much of a joy.
Please pray for us and bless us, Drona. Pray for us and bless us. Then we will always be pleasing our spiritual master, Guru and Gauranga.
Yeah. We're all looking forward to coming back on February 25th.
Yes, we're all gearing up for that one. That's the focus.
Okay. To start off, just a little invocation to Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. 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 Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, Jai Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajacharya Shottatara Shishimad, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Yeah. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajacharya Shottatara Shishimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Maharaj Ki. Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki. Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Jai. Prem Skoho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Haribo. All glories the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories, the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Namom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Tirtha Swami Nitya Namane Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shraddhamane Shri Guru Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Iti Namane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitya Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pucharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatare. So we are Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Adi Lila, chapter 3. This is an amazing chapter. We're in the beginning of it. And we're going to go through text 3 through 10. And this is going to describe how often Lord Krishna descends into this world. And it's quite fascinating because there's going to be a lot of numbers. And it's very technical. So pay attention to some of these numbers. A lot of times this may come up when Lord Krishna appeared in relationship to one of Brahma's days. Okay, here we go. Brahmara ekadine tino ekabara avatirna hana karine prakata vihara. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Once in a day of Brahma, he, that is Lord Krishna, descends to this world to manifest his transcendental pastimes. Satya Treta Dwarpa Kali Kari Yuga Jani Se Kari Yuge Divya Eka Yuga Mani. Translation. We know there are 4 ages, yugas, namely Satya, Treta, Dwarpa, and Kali. These 4 together constitute one Divya Yuga. Ekatarara Chatur Yuge Eka Manvantara Chora Manvantara Brahmara Divasha Bitara. 71 Divya Yugas constitute one Mananvantar. There are 14 Mananvantars in one day of Brahma. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A Mananvantar is a period controlled by one Manu. The reign of 14 Mananvantars equals the length of one day, or 12 hours, in the life of Brahma. And the night of Brahma is the same duration. These calculations are given in the authentic astronomy book known as the Surya Siddhanta. An annotated Bengali translation of this book was compiled by the great professor of astronomy and mathematics, Bimala Prasad Datta, later known as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, who was our merciful spiritual master. He was honored with the title Siddhanta Saraswati for translating the Surya Siddhanta, and the title Goswami Maharaj was added when he accepted sannyas, the renounced order of life. A little insight into Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
I was going to say the same thing, Ramacharya. I had no idea that he translated the book on astronomy. This is so good information.
Yeah. He was, we'll talk a little bit about him, but he was a genius. Like when we talk about people that are like gifted with extreme intellect, like we call him a genius. He was definitely a genius. What he was able to do at such a young age. He did this at a very young age as well. Yeah. I'm not sure of the age, but it was very young. Very rarely do you see somebody of this caliber enter into this world. But it wasn't just obviously the intellectual, his intellectual ability in astronomy and mathematics. He more or less, he started that way, but then he transitioned into pure bhakti and made his life about teaching and spreading the teachings, the pure teachings of, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, helping his father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, establish, the mission of Lord Chaitanya for the world then, establishing the Gaudiya Math, writing various books, establishing the position of Lord Chaitanya. Okay. Yeah, we should know that about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Yeah. More is written in the Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava about this.
Do you want me to go to the next verse?
Yeah,
John,
we'll
or
go to
you
the
want...
next verse.
Sure,
Yeah, we'll go
no
to the next.
problem.
Yeah. Vaivashvatam nama e saptama manvantara sata aisha chatur yuga tata antara. The present Manu, who is the seventh, is called Vaivashvata, the son of Vivishvan. 27 Divya Yugas, that is 27 times 4,320,000 solar years of this age, have now passed. The names of the 14 Manus are as follows: Swayambhuva, 1, 2, Swarochya, 3, Uttama, 4, Tamas, 5, Raivata, 6, Chakshusha, 7, Vaivashvata. 8, which is our current one, is 7. 8, Savrini. 9, Daksha Savrini. 10, Brahma Savrini. 11, Dharma Savrini. 12, Rudra Putra, or Rudra Savrini. 13, Rucha, or Deva Savrini. And 14, Boktyaka, or Indra Savrini. So we're talking about long, long periods of time. Remember, one manvantar is 4 million. Excuse me, 4. So one manvantar. We'll get to this a little bit later. I won't throw this. This will also come up a little bit later in the. At the end of the Astavimsa Chatur Yuge Dwarpa Pera Sheshe Vrajera Sahite Haya Krishnera Prakashe. At the end of the Dwarpa Yuga of the 28th Divya Yuga, Lord Krishna appears on earth with full paraphernalia of his eternal Vrajadam. Purport. Now is the term of Vaivishvata Manu, during which Lord Chaitanya appears. First, Lord Krishna appears at the close of the Dwarpa Yuga, of the 28th Divya Yuga. And then Lord Chaitanya appears in the Kali Yuga of the same Divya Yuga. Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya appear once in each day of Brahma, or once in 14 Mananvantars, each of 71 Divya Yugas in duration. From the beginning of Brahma's day of 4,320,000,000 years, 6 Manus have appeared and disappeared from before Lord Krishna appears. Thus, 1,975,320,000 years of the day of Brahma elapse before the appearance of Lord Krishna. This is an astronomical calculation according to solar years. Om Gyanata Barandasha Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So there's a lot of technical information with regards to time periods here. And it is such a large stretch and large period of time that it could be mind-blowing for us to just wrap our minds around. You know, we talk in terms of minutes, seconds, hours, days, years. And here we're talking in terms of yuga cycles, millions, billions of years. And it goes way beyond the human conception that this could even, this could even happen. Even according to like modern science, going back this far is mind-blowing. When you look at just a divya, a yuga cycle, the length of one yuga cycle is 4,320,000 years. And there are 71 of these Divya Yuga cycles. So 71 of 4,320,000 years in one Mananvantar. And there are 14 Mananvantars in a day of Brahma. Within a day of Brahma, where we are currently situated, is in the 7th of the 14 Mananvantars. And within that 7th Mananvantar, we're on the 28th of 71 Divya Yuga cycles. So we're placed in a place of history, which is very exacting. The credit for laying this out for us goes to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the spiritual master of His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who before he entered a life of exclusive devotion to Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. He studied these things and was most expert and most well respected with regards to the science. So it was stated earlier that he was given the name Siddhanta Saraswati. And then later he got the name Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, when he took sannyas. But he was known as Siddhanta Saraswati, Saraswati, the goddess of learning, Siddhanta, the truth. So we have that in our lineage that we should be aware of and know about. But we're talking about such a long, long period of time. And what that does for me, and which I ask you also to reflect upon, is that Krishna does not appear here on earth that frequently. Right? One day of Brahma, here it is stated as the beginning of Brahma's day of 4,320,000,000 years. So Lord Krishna appears once in every 4,320,000,000 years. And we are only 5,000 years removed from that. We have hit the lottery. You could say that we've hit the spiritual lottery as far as being born and alive on the earth in the same location where Lord Krishna descended. We're not talking about 5 million years removed, or 50 million or 500 million years removed. We're talking only 5,000 years removed. Now, as far as our life cycle, it seems like a long period of time. We're lucky if we live 70, 80, 90 years, right? So how many generations is that? Even if we live 100 years, 5,000 years would be 50 generations back. So 50 of our forefathers stretching back would go back to the time of Krishna. So for us, it's like a long period of time. We barely know, maybe 2 generations, 3 generations back, but going back 50 generations is almost untraceable. But according to Krishna's standards, and according to the standards of the universe, we're actually very, very close to the time period in which Lord Krishna descended. I want to give one more reference, and this is in the Bhagavad Gita. 4:1 of the Bhagavad Gita. I'll read it real quick. And this is when Lord Krishna says that I'm not going to read the whole purport, but I'll just read this. The personality of Godhead said, Lord Shri Krishna. Excuse me, the personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god, Vivishvan, and Vivishvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. Later in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, in the Mahabharata, the Shanti Parva 348, 51, and 52, we can trace out the history of the Gita as follows. In the beginning of the millennium known as Treta Yuga, the science of the relationship with the Supreme was delivered by Vivishvan to Manu. Manu, being the father of mankind, gave it to his son, Maharaj Ikshvaku, the king of the earth planet and forefather of the Raghu dynasty, in which Lord Ramchandra appeared. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita existed in human society from the time of Maharaj Ikshvaku. At the present moment, we have passed through 5,000 years of Kali Yuga, which lasts 432,000 years. Before this, there was Dwapara Yuga, 8,000 years. And before that, there was Treta Yuga, roughly 1,200,000 years. Thus, some 2,005,000 years ago, Manu spoke the Bhagavad Gita to his disciple Maharaj Ikshvaku, the king of the planet Earth. The current age, the age of the current Manu is calculated to last 305,300,000 years, of which 120,400,000 years have passed. So in this current Manu, we have the current Manu, a current Manu lasts 305 million years. 305 million years. And the way that's calculated is 71 Divya Yugas, and each Divya Yuga is 4,320,000 years. So again, very technical, but the point here is that Srila Prabhupada writes, accepting that before the birth of Manu, the Gita was spoken by the Lord to his disciple, the sun god Vivishvan. A rough estimate is that the Gita was at least spoken 120,400,000 years ago. And in human society, it has been existent for 2 million years. And then again, 5,000 years ago, it was spoken again to Arjuna. So we also know that when Krishna descends, he's descended 5,000 years ago. And before that, he hadn't descended for the previous day of Brahma, which a day of Brahma is 4,320,000,000 years. A night is another 4 billion. So a total of, he hadn't been here minus these 5,000 years for 8 billion 640 million years. But that was here on Earth. And we know that Lord Krishna, he also travels throughout the universe. He travels to different places in the universe. So at one point he must have traveled to instruct, and during his travels he instructed his disciple, the sun god Vivishvan, on the science of the Bhagavad Gita. And then that science had been passed down to Manu, and then from Manu to Ikshvaku. So it's another reference there. In case we read that, we may have been confused and said, well, how could Krishna have spoken this if he only came 5,000 years ago? And before that, he came, he only comes in the 28th Divya Yuga. So when may he have come? But we should understand that Lord Krishna travels to different parts of the universe. In fact, it is stated that in the Srimad Bhagavatam that when the soul becomes liberated from this material body and is self-realized in full Krishna consciousness, it actually joins Lord Krishna in one of his pastimes that he's performing here in the material world. It could be in various universe, we don't know which universe or which, planetary system it's actually taking place in. But Lord Krishna is constantly appearing and disappearing in this material world. And the reason he comes, is given in the Bhagavad Gita. Yada yada hi dharmasha glanir bhavati bhartaha abhutanam dharmasha tadatmanam surjamyaham. That whenever there's a decline in religious practice and a predominant rise in irreligion, at that time, Krishna says he descends himself. And the following verse, Pritanaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samstarpanartaya sambhavam yuge yuge. And he does this to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion. And Krishna says, therefore I am appearing millennium after millennium, not just here on earth, but all over the universe and various universes, and the multitude of universes that exist here in this material world. And again, we are only 5,000 years removed. We don't want to miss this opportunity. Even us as beings, if we understand, the knowledge that is coming from the Vedas, we have passed through many, many different species of life, not always as a human being. Various animal species of life, plant species of life, and even below plants, different types of, single cell living entities. The life forms that exist are so many that if we think that we've passed through, the various different forms of life in which the consciousness is not developed hardly at all. We were reading recently about, in one of the classes, how you go to the most remote places on the earth, like in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, some of the deepest caverns that exist at the bottom of the ocean, where a human can't even go that far, or else the pressure will build up so much that the body will literally collapse and die. And it's so close that there's openings where, like, the core of the earth is leaking out heat, that the heat is so intense. But yet there's studies there that actually show that there's life that exists there. We could be there. There's spirit souls that actually have taken birth in those conditions. And gradually they'll evolve, become humans eventually, and have the opportunity for self-realization. But we could be there. But we're not. We're here. living Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, so close hearing about Lord Krishna's pastimes. Therefore, we don't want to miss this opportunity that's given to us. We have, this is, when people ask you, did you hit the lottery? Have you ever hit the lottery? Because I don't play the lottery because I'll never win. The odds of us being here on earth at this time, so close to Lord Krishna, and what to speak of Lord Chaitanya, only a little over 500 years removed. We are truly, truly the most fortunate to be able to take advantage of the mercy that they have bestowed upon this world. For us to understand our true nature as spirit souls, that we have nothing to do with this material world, and to provide us the pathway back home, back to Godhead, by following in the footsteps of the great teachers who have come in disciplic succession directly from Krishna and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is truly our greatest gift that we have. And we have to make sure we do not blow it and think, okay, well, let me take another birth and let me see, because we just don't know what will happen. When Lord Krishna comes, he comes for different reasons. To annihilate the miscreants, to reestablish the principles of religion. And there was a lot that happened. The war of the Bhagavad Gita, where it was spoken. All the kings of the world, many impious, were brought to the battlefield. They were all killed. Maharaj Yudhisthira was enthroned as the king of the planet. And then gradually things degraded even more, and Krishna disappeared. And when Krishna disappeared, things started to degrade. The Pandavas disappeared. We're learning about this in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Kali Yuga came to set, and there's so many problems within Kali Yuga. The forgetfulness of Krishna, even though he appeared so recently. Krishna killing the irreligious, demoniac forces that were here on earth. But that wasn't when Krishna comes himself. So this happens every yuga cycle. I remember I heard from His Holiness Varshana Maharaj when they said, when Lord Chaitanya appears, he appears, with the Yuga Dharma of spreading the holy name. He said, but Lord Chaitanya only appears like Lord Krishna in once of a day of Brahma. So what is the Yuga Dharma when Lord Chaitanya doesn't appear? And he says, no, it's the Yuga Dharma is always there. It's always the chanting of the holy names. But specifically, in this particular yuga, the chanting of the holy names is laced. It is imbued. It's infused with a particular type of devotion, a special type of bhakti, and this can only be found in Krishna's Vraja Lila pastimes. And that is the real reason why Krishna, that is the primary, we should say, there's always primary, there's secondary reasons. To kill the miscreants, to reestablish religion. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Swayam Bhagavan, the original, that source by which all others come from, all other avatars come from. There's a particular reason why the original Sri Krishna comes. And that is to show the world the highest form of devotion exhibited by the devotees in Sri Vrindavan Dham. It's not simply just about connecting spiritual principles, religious principles, living, doing good, developing good habits, what we typically think in terms of religion. It was to show that the highest form of bhakti, a bhakti which actually makes Krishna subservient to his devotees, which conquers Krishna's heart, which captures his love. This is known as Raganuga Bhakti. And this raga, or this natural, intense, spontaneous attraction, or thirst for serving Krishna out of love and devotion, is demonstrated in Krishna's Adi Lila Vrindavan pastimes. And those who have internalized this raga and this natural, intense feeling, these are the Brijbasis. And they are known as the Ragatmika Bhaktas. And what Lord Krishna came to show is that by following in their footsteps, by following the path of Raganuga Bhakti, or spontaneous love of Krishna, that is ultimately our pathway. That is the ultimate goal of life. Now, in order to realize this, to make it practical, to make it understandable to the world, because the Brijbasis that came, they were like the traveling roadshow. They descended with Lord Krishna from the spiritual world. And then when they left, they also left back again to the spiritual world, or to go to the next planet in which Krishna, in the next universe, which Krishna was demonstrating his pastimes. So Lord Chaitanya Krishna, wanting to make this aspect of pure devotion available to the world, he began to think and lament that this has not been bestowed upon all the residents of this world. It has not been available. So coming in his most merciful form, in the mood of Srimati Radharani, who is mercy personified, compassion personified, who wants to see Krishna pleased, and Krishna is most pleased when he sees that all his parts and parcels, living entities, are reconnected to him. He said, let's go back. Let's go back into the material world. But this time I'm going to come as a devotee. So I can properly, I can, through my example, demonstrate pure loving devotional service. And at the same time, be able to relish that loving devotional service. So that's another point we'll get to in the internal reasons for Krishna's appearance, Lord Chaitanya's appearance. I guess the last thing is this path of Raganuga Bhakti, is a very high level. But we also should know that this is the natural dharma of the soul. In order to get to the place of Raganuga Bhakti, Vaidhi Bhakti or Sadhana Bhakti is first prescribed for us. Because of our attachment to our material existence, our identification with matter and our material bodies, our material mind, the senses, our addictions, our habits, our material condition. The path of Vaidhi Bhakti, which is just the preliminary stage for one to develop one's spontaneous love for God. This must be followed. And therefore, this is what Srila Prabhupada has given us. He's given us, through the practice of the rules and regulations of sadhana bhakti. And this is to develop our love for God and also break our habits in this material world. Through routine, through regiment, through fully engagement of the senses, which include the mind, in devotional practices, regulation, waking up early, chanting the holy names, worshiping the deity, at various, being on time, reading scriptures, hearing classes, strengthening our intelligence to understand that this material world, what it is truly, and who we are as spirit souls, and the pathway of devotional service, which allows us to become free from the cycle of samsara, of repeated birth and death. Krishna gives us the spiritual master to be able to guide us and instruct us so an essential part of one's Vaidhi Bhakti is accepting shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, taking initiation, formal vows from them, and then also rendering devotional service to them, helping them spread the mission of devotional life, and following the instructions, which will help. It's like the doctor giving the medicine to the patient. The patient has to follow that prescription, very rigidly. And even to the point, the Goswamis, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, they said his devotional practices were like etched in stone, like unmovable. He did, he was just so precise. And sometimes that precision gets misunderstood as mechanical. And there's a case that can be made that it becomes mechanical, that the feeling gets lost. Why can't I just be free to worship Krishna how I want to do it? What comes about in my heart. One day I can chant 8 rounds. One day I'll chant 75 rounds. Another day I'll chant 6 rounds, and I just feel in bliss all the time. So sometimes the mind just goes and it wants to be its own master. This has not been the path outlined by the previous acharyas. But the beautiful thing is that there's never the deniance of the principle of Raganuga Bhakti, of spontaneous love of Krishna. And the love out of spontaneity, which is the natural condition of the living entity, will awaken by the mercy of the spiritual master and Lord Krishna, when it is right time for the spirit soul. When the material disease has been fully eradicated, it will be revealed. It will naturally occur because it exists within us, but we're just so covered over. We have to be very loyal and dedicated to the wonderful process of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Now, the last thing I heard this from His Holiness Bhakti True Maharaj. Vaidhi or sadhana bhakti in the line of Lord Chaitanya is different than ordinary sadhana bhakti. Lord Chaitanya is a ragatmika bhakta because he is none other than he's come in the mood of Sri Chaitanya or Srimati Radharani. Lord Chaitanya, Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahayanya. So performing Vaidhi Bhakti to Lord Chaitanya, or in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for the pleasure of Lord Chaitanya, which means Sri Krishna Sankirtan, performing the Sankirtan movement in a regulated way, and following the principles of Vaidhi Bhakti. We're directly following in the footsteps of a Ragatmika Bhakta. And therefore, the mood of Raganuga Bhakti, the goal is always prevalent. And that will ultimately be assured as long as we stay committed and loyal to this. Okay, I'll stop here. See if there's any questions or comments. Very technical part. And again, just our great fortune. And we'll find out the next verse about Lord Chaitanya's appearance and how it comes so close, why it comes so close to Lord Krishna's. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Dronacharya, for taking us through the journey, I have to say, about the technicality, but really connecting it to the purpose, of our lives, of chanting Vaidhi Bhakti, following the principles, and really appreciating how lucky we are, how fortunate, I think is the right word, how fortunate we are to be part of this movement. In, like you mentioned, the first 5,000 years, it's like we have, there's so many more millions of years, and we are so, so blessed. And like you said, we're so fortunate. So thank you for taking us through that journey and the culmination of how fortunate we are to be part of Lord Chaitanya's movement and the Harinam Sankirtan movement. Thank you so much. We'd like to ask devotees if you have any questions, any clarification or reflection, please do raise your hand or jump right in if you want. I have a question, Dronacharya, and I really, really like the phrase that you used, spiritual lottery. I think it's like perfect. I would like to ask you if you could shed some light on the difference between how can we really understand material lottery versus spiritual lottery.
Well, material lottery is when we get material good fortune, but it's really not, we know as devotees, it's really not good in the sense of our ultimate good. It's just one gets some wealth, which will come and which we will ultimately leave us at the time of death. That is the one everybody plays, so that they can get money and therefore they don't have to work again, and they can do whatever they want, what they really want to do. And that's, we're placing our expectations and desires in the hands of a material system, which we need to become convinced about is only going to let us down in the end. The reason I use the word lottery is because typically people see it in the terms of like in terms of good fortune, and we didn't necessarily choose to be here, born consciously, say, okay, last several lives I was this, but now I'm going to be born here at this particular time. that was more or less out of our control. But by the mercy, we were just wandering through the universe, going from life to life, lifetime to lifetime. And by our good fortune, we learned that verse yesterday. I don't have it memorized. It's in the CC. I can never call on it but it's basically you're saying the verse Brahmanya Brahmite Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Beach. I think there was a word or two I missed on there. But basically we go lifetime after lifetime wandering through this universe. And by our good fortune, we come in contact and we get planted. We come in contact with a pure devotee. And thus the seed of devotion gets planted within our hearts. And in the process of Shravanam and Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, waters that and nourishes that creeper, that seed of devotion, which blossoms into a creeper. And as we're nourishing it through the hearing and the chanting process of devotional service to the Lord, we're able to grow our love of God, ultimately all the way back to the spiritual world. And that is the ultimate good fortune. So when we talk about lottery, we turn in terms of good fortune. But the only true good fortune is getting our eternal life back, realizing that we don't belong here in this material world, and we're eternal loving servants of Krishna, and getting the opportunity to perform devotional service. That is the greatest gift. And that is what the International Society of Krishna Consciousness was created for. That's why Srila Prabhupada and before him, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who envisioned this worldwide society that would engage people in devotional life. It wasn't simply it wasn't for socialization. It wasn't for, just to become another religion. But it was to start a revolution to give people the pathway back home, back to Godhead. And give people the opportunity to start that process, perform devotional service. That is really our great fortune. Is that okay?
Yes, beautiful. And I really liked how you translated the word lottery to good fortune, which I could never have thought of it that way, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So then we have the spiritual good fortune. That was really nice. Thank you so much. Yes, very nice. I like how you translated the word lottery to good fortune and then connected it to spirituality. It's very nice, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Yes, Nitya Gopal, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Mataji, and everyone. Dandat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Such a wonderful, wonderful class, Prabhuji. So magnanimous enough you and unraveled how close we are, the incarnation of Lord Sri Krishna and Gauranga Mahaprabhu as compared to the time frame of one day of Brahma. And that when you see that calculation of, the Manvantaras and Yuga cycles and all these things, we feel so fortunate. And you said, we have hit the lottery. Yes, we compare all these things. We are very fortunate to, come in contact with such a wonderful process and very rare opportunity. Thank you so much for bringing. So at the end, Prabhuji was mentioning in the Vaidhi Bhakti or Sadhana Bhakti is different in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Our mood and goal is very prevalent. So can you little bit speak on that, Prabhu?
Because the goal is to become the goal is understood, is not liberation. The goal is very specific, is to serve the residents of Vrindavan, and to develop the mood of the Brijbasis. And why do we want to do that? Because that is what gives Krishna the most pleasure. Their spirit of selfless love. Their devotion is pure. Anabhilasashita sunyam, jnana karmadya navartam, anukuliyena krishnanu, shilanam bhaktiruttama. Rupa Goswami, he defines pure devotional service as that being free from any type of material enjoyment. Monistic philosophy of impersonalism and becoming one with God, or fruitive gain, worshiping the demigods or the forefathers, or religious activity. So even in liberation, the desire is still for my enjoyment, right? It's still for me to become free. But in the pastimes of the Brijbasis, they give everything to Krishna. We see this, when Krishna had a headache, right? And they went around. We got to collect dust. Krishna says, only the dust from the feet of my devotee. And he went to different, very exalted places. But each time they were saying, oh, this is an offense. This is an offense. If I perform this offense, I'll go to hell. I can't let Krishna touch my feet or touch something that touched my feet. But when he went to, it was Narada Muni who was traveling? I think, trying to, I don't know if it was Narada Muni or another devotee. I wish I would have been prepared to answer that better.
It was Narada Muni.
It was Narada Muni. Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. Mother Anasuya, thanks. And then, but immediately the cowherd damsels of Vrindavan, yes, whatever Krishna, whatever Krishna needs, whatever can relieve his headache, without even the thought of their own enjoyment. Aren't you afraid, you're going to go to hell? That is not my concern. My concern is only for Krishna. They didn't even, and then Krishna, through his Yoga Maya potency, in order not to ruin the mood, he covers this conception of opulence, that he is actually the Supreme Lord, because he doesn't want that to interfere with the sentiments of loving devotion. The Madhurya Lila, the sweetness of Krishna's pastimes, can only be understood if the Aishwarya aspect, or the opulence of God in Dwarka, where one offers love with reverence, where that doesn't exist. They like we say, we love God because we know he's the supreme, he's the controller of the universe, he's the creator of all, therefore we love God, we show him our respect. But imagine we had that same level of dedication and devotion, simply not because he was the controller, but because he was just the most beautiful, the most loving, the most attractive person. That is what they experience in Sri Vrindavan Dham. We find out when Lord Brahma stole the cowherd boys and all the calves, and the parents, they love the calves even more and the cowherd boys even more, because Krishna manifested directly as them, and the sweetness they had for them, because Krishna was just so lovable. He was the most attractive. You know, we could see when the cowherd ladies, you know, the young ladies, they left their families in the middle of the night to follow Krishna's flute. And these are all very elevated. We can't imitate this. We can only, this is what this bhakti is what we strive for, They leave behind all of just for Krishna's pleasure. Mother Yashoda, the ecstasy that she was able to experience in the Damodar Lila, chastising Krishna, and Krishna expanding, and her motherly devotion, to the Supreme Lord. It is this loving devotion which is the goal of Lord Chaitanya's. That is the love that Lord Chaitanya wanted to spread to the world, and he did it in the form of Harinam Sankirtan. So rendering devotional service to the Harinam Sankirtan movement is rendering service directly to Lord Chaitanya, who is non-different than who is coming in the mood of Srimati Radharani, who is the most intimate servant of Lord Krishna. That is my understanding. So the goal there is that is our goal, and that is given, that is why the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is infused with a special type of bhakti in this particular Kali Yuga. Now, of course, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We have to, we're not, most of us, we're not at that level of Raganuga, bhakti. But still, that is the goal. We have to understand what the goal is. Even our deities, when we worship them, Srila Prabhupada instructed, we have to worship them like Lakshmi, Narayan. We have to worship them more in the mood of Aishwarya, because if we allow our minds to become spontaneous, we'll usually become cheaters, take shortcuts. Oh, I can cut time. I don't have to make this as much. I don't have to, we find that those that are in that mood, they're actually extremely, extremely they're not whimsical, and oftentimes spontaneous love is misunderstood as whimsical. Whimsical means that it's only because of our sense gratification that we're doing something. I'm going to cut a corner here, I'm going to cut a corner there because it's good for me. That's whimsical. And until we're fully purified, we can't really take on that mood, or else we'll become cheaters.
Wonderful, wonderful explanation. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
You have anything to add, Nitya Gopal Prabhu?
No, Prabhu, no, I do not. Yeah, That's so wonderful. Whenever you speak, you feel like a nectar flowing from your lotus mouth, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. If you like to keep listening.
I agree, Nitya Gopal Prabhu. When he speaks, it's like nectar just flowing, it's like so sweet. And especially explaining the point of selfless love, which we have, at least I know, I have a long way to go to develop the spontaneous. It's just flowing from his mouth. I agree with you, Nitya Gopal.
We'll catch the dhoti, Prabhuji.
Really, really nice explanation. Such a sweet explanation of what we have to, the goal, and then still. I liked how you said, Dronacharya, that it's infused in the chanting of the holy name. I really like that sentence. It's so beautiful. When you use the word infused in the chanting the holy name, it's like putting nectar in the holy name. I really like that sentence. Sounds so beautiful. Thank you so much.
And the holy name is naturally sweet. It's like, it's always Krishna. It's never not Krishna. It's not that just, but it's this special mood that Lord Chaitanya has come to give it just like there are many avatars of Krishna that come, right? Many avatars, and they all can give liberation, and they can all give a certain type of bhakti, mostly we hear about dasya, a form of bhakti. But Krishna in his original form, and we should understand that this is not an avatar. Krishna coming is not an expansion; it's the original. So this is what Krishna's descending from Sri Braj Dham, the eternal, Goloka Vrindavan, is descending. Golakara Premadan Harinam Sankirtan, that he is descended. The spiritual world is descended in this age in the form of the holy name, and to give the nectar of the holy name, Golakara Premadan Harinam Sankirtan, that the jewel of divine love is descended from the spiritual world in Harinam Sankirtan. So it has that specialness because of and this is all because of Lord Krishna has descended to demonstrate his Vrindavan pastimes. Lord Chaitanya, in the mood of Srimati Radharani, has come to distribute that. And Lord Chaitanya has Krishna has his own personal reasons, his own personal motivations, and we'll get to that later in the CC. This was for all of us. This is kind of the external reasons he descended, but he has his own internal purpose.
So I was just trying to think on the Prabhuji, when we do engage ourselves in Harinam Sankirtan, so we should have that mood, or like the ending process of mood of Brajvasi, or the Raganuga Bhakti. Is that how we understand? Because we are at the early stages of Sankirtan, we will be doing chanting, reading, but how we should have that end goal in mind? Is that how our sadhana should practice, Prabhuji? Because we're not able to practice any Raganuga Bhakti's activities.
Yeah, we can't demonstrate that, or else we become, it's like we hear about, the Prakrita Sahajas, they're, just doing nonsense type of activities, trying to imitate, this. So that wasn't the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then we find that one of the greatest gifts that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is that they established the pure path of devotional service in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where there was a lot of casteism, where you can only be a follower of Lord Krishna if you're from this particular caste, or you're from a Goswami family coming in the line of one of the family members of Lord Chaitanya, or even worse, the Prakrita Sahajas, where they falsely tried to imitate prematurely pastimes of the residents of Vrindavan. They walk around like they're imitating peacocks, or they're getting dressed up as gopis, and just embarrassing things. So this is being misled. Following the principles of sadhana bhakti, Vaidhi bhakti. Internally, the mood can be developed. And what is that mood? It's Krishna first. Krishna first. And if we can do that, that is the first step in getting to this point. Krishna first, not me. Doing things for Krishna pleasure, not my pleasure. In the beginning of devotional service, we do things for Krishna, but for our pleasure, what feels good for us. So that's at the very beginning stages of devotional life. I'll come when I want to come. I'll do the things I want to do. I'll let you know when I can do something. So that's at the beginning stages of devotional life. Then we want to get to the point where actually I'm doing it out of more selfless love, not because it gives me pleasure, but because this is what is giving Krishna pleasure. How do I know it's giving Krishna pleasure? Well, I'm following in the footsteps of my guru. My guru is asking me to do this, or maybe some representative of my guru, maybe a senior god brother, god sister, or a an authority at the temple or something like that has been empowered to do, a particular service to guide me and engage me. They want me to do something, but I don't want to do it. And so when you get to the point of a surrendering of the false ego, and that gets to the point of now Krishna's first. So these are all gradual developments, but we have to become very fixed and strong in our sadhana. So when we display to the public, when we perform devotional activities, it should always be loving. Susukam kartam avyayam. Bhagavad Gita says, it's lovingly, joyfully performed. So because this is our eternal activity, and we should feel a refreshment and we should feel the bliss and the removal of entering into a devotional life brings the soul bliss. We should feel that, and we can demonstrate that. And when we perform Harinam Sankirtan on the street, we should feel that bliss. We should open ourselves up to the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, and just say, I'm a fallen soul. I have really nothing to give, but Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Guru Parampara, all the Guru Bhaktavrindas, please allow me to be your instrument, and shine, that spirit that you shine to the world. Allow me to feel your mercy and your energy, and allow me to, to distribute that. On our own, we may our minds become so fickle, and but if we just say, please, allow me to be your instrument. And that is the mood we should have.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you mentioned you have know that internally but externally you are following the Vedic sadhana.
Nitya, you sound a bit choppy. Your voice sounds a bit choppy.
Yeah, sometimes it has the issue.
Yeah, you sound like a robot now. Trying to understand what you're saying, but I know it's very nice saying what you're trying to say.
It's better now.
Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, but I was appreciating what the Prabhuji, how he mentioned, we should develop our mood internally and externally. We should have the strong sadhana with the bhakti. Another point Prabhuji mentioned is susukam kartum avyayam. When you do our devotional service, joyfully do it, so that that's relishing. So these are some points I picked up. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Very nice point. And that's a post by Dir Krishna where he says, great points. Thank you, Prabhu. And he said, unfortunately, imitating the Brajabasis has become a fashion, an easy way to skip sadhana bhakti and jump to raganuga bhakti based on speculation. So he was really appreciating your point, Dronacharya. And I also like, Dronacharya, how you said that internally the mood should be what's pleasing for the Lord. And I think that is completely, Vaidhi Bhakti Sadhana Bhakti, getting to the point is, and I liked how you said that we should come from the, we start off saying, okay, this is what I can do, and slowly come to the point of what does the Lord need, and let me do it to please him. So thank you. Yes, Mother Geeta, please, Mother.
Please accept my humble obeisances, all goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thanks to everyone sharing so many wonderful thoughts. I was thinking when Nitya Gopal Prabhu was talking about internal and external, I remember hearing that the devotee, the behavior of the devotee should be the same, whether alone or in association of other devotees or other people. There should be no change. It shouldn't be that I'm somebody when I'm alone, and then I'm somebody else when I'm with the devotees. Hare Krishna.
It's powerful.
Powerful. Really powerful. Yeah, we should be one and the same. Wow. Thank you, Mother Geeta. Really powerful. Gave a shoulder back of my spine. It's really beautiful. Thank you so much. Amazing points. Yes. And I want to thank all the devotees. I know we went way over time, but this has been a beautiful discussion, wonderful topics, wonderful questions, and wonderful sharing that I'm sure all of us are learning something new. I've learned a lot. And one thing that I definitely have learned is I did not know that Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj translated the book on astronomy. And that's how he got his name. I never knew that. And he was a master of mathematics. I had no idea that he was a mathematics, proficient. Like, had no clue. I'm like, okay, Krishna, I'm learning something new today. I was so excited that I had to text one of my devotee friends. Did you know that he got this name? Because I was so excited to get that message that, learning that something new. But I learned a lot in this class, Dronacharya. Thank you so much for this beautiful class. And I'm sure we all had a wonderful class to hear from this beautiful class. And we thank all of you for, yes, Nitya Gopal, go ahead.
I mean, I was trying to mention, is that Prabhuji Siddhanta Saraswati title got because of the Bhakti Siddhanta, Surya Siddhanta Maharaj has written?
Yeah, that's my understanding. That's what I remember reading in the Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhava.
It says
And
here
it says it in here too, as well.
Right here, it says, later Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. So he got this title because he translated the Surya Siddhanta. Yes.
Yeah, that's new. I did not know that.
I didn't know that. And I didn't even know that he was a professor of mathematics.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was honored with the title Siddhanta Saraswati for translating the Surya Siddhanta.
Yes.
And the title Goswami Maharaj was added when he accepted sannyas. So the Bhakti Siddhanta. So it turned from Siddhanta Saraswati to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati.
Wow.
Vedanta and Bhakti Vedanta.
Amazing. We'll always learn something new from this beautiful conversations. I love it. I love it. It's so nice. Really want to thank all of you for this beautiful discussion. I had really, really, really enjoyed this discussion and a wonderful class, Dronacharya. And, we got 2 beautiful days. Yesterday was a beautiful class and beautiful kirtan by you, Dronacharya, having the whole temple rocking. And then today's wonderful class. It's beautiful. I mean, wow.
I get so inspired by Nitya Gopal Prabhu's dancing.
He can jump. If the fan was a little bit lower, I'm sure he would touch the fan too.
You are my role model, Prabhuji. I always look forward. I can do like devotion like what Prabhuji does.
Yeah, he can dance too, right?
Yeah. Oh, unlimited.
Yes.
Prabhuji going, hours and hours in Rath Yatra.
It's all by the mercy of
without getting tired, and that's amazing. I also try to, but I have limitations. I keep looking at Prabhuji. Oh my God, that's the spiritual energy. It's not the.
It's only by the mercy of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj.
I was going to say, you are blessed by our spiritual master Shakti, Dronacharya. No doubt about that.
And then Chandramali Maharaj also gave me a benediction once. He says, as long as you don't stop, you won't get tired.
Oh my God. Yeah. Even you got it? Chandramali Swami gave me a benediction too. I'll tell you later on. So I think you and I we are blessed to have been benedicted by Chandramali Swami.
I will remember that if you are not stopping, you will not get tired.
Yeah. He just goes. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And we look forward to your association again next month, Prabhu, and can't wait. We are all excited to welcome Gornitai. We have so much planning to do, so much to get to prepare the temple. So the next few weeks, we're going to be busy and we can have your association again. We thank all the devotees for joining us for such a wonderful class this morning. Vanchakaptubhyascha kripasindhabevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Have a wonderful day.
Everyone as well. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Rukmini. Hare Krishna, Xavier.